Hello everybody and thank you guys for tuning in this video. My name is Cole Martins and in today's episode we'll be talking about the NFL in week 10 in the NFL. Before we go into the week 10 though, let's talk about how I did last week in my total predictions. And last week was the best week I've had all year, as I was able to go 10-3 in my picks last week, bringing my season total to 66, 51, and 2. And before we go to week 10 here, we'll talk about our bye week teams this week, as we get a little bit of less lower bye team week total than we had the last couple weeks of 6 teams each. This time we only have 4, as the 4 bye teams this week. We have the Buffalo Bills, who come into their bye week 4-5 and suffering a loss to Seattle Seahawks. So trying to get a little bit of improvement here on this bye week and try to make a charge near the end of the season, try to make a playoff run. The Detroit Lions on their bye week go in there 5-4 and pick up a win against the Minnesota Vikings and still have a chance for that division lead after beating the Vikings, as now they're only one game out of that division lead. So the Lions in the NFC North, it seems like it's going to be a very close battle between Minnesota, Green Bay, and the Lions in Detroit. Next we have our bye team. We have the Indianapolis Colts, who come in their bye week 4-5 and pick up a win against the Green Bay Packers. So a big win for them coming into their bye week, and them also trying to make a push for the playoffs in the AFC South, as they are only 2 games behind the Houston Texans. And last but not least, the Oakland Raiders are coming in their bye week at 7-2 and leading the AFC West, as last Sunday night they picked up a win against the Denver Broncos. As now we head on to our games for week 10, and we'll start with our Thursday night football game, as we have an AFC North battle, as the Cleveland Browns will take on the Baltimore Ravens. Cleveland, as you didn't know here yet, they come into this game 0-9, as still looking for their first win of the year, and last week picking up a loss to the Dallas Cowboys. I think we all kind of expected that one. Dallas has looked very, very well this season. And right now, the question for the the Cleveland Browns is if they will go 0-16 this year and match the record of our beloved Detroit Lions. It sucks to be a fan sometimes of Lions. They got to make fun of them at the same time too. But hey. But so far, 0-16, no quarterback really for this team. They cannot keep a stable quarterback, so that brings up more questions if they'll have a stable enough team to even win a game this year. And then for the Baltimore Ravens, right now they come into this game 4-4 and picking up a very big victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And right now, Baltimore is technically considered the leader of the NFC North. And if I had taken a pick in this one, I'm going to go with the upset in this one. I think this is the only chance Cleveland Browns have to win a game this year. The rest of their schedule is looking very, very tough against some very tough opponents. This is the last chance I'm going to give Cleveland. After this game, I can't pick him anymore. So I'm going to give the Cleveland right now the win on the road, and I think they'll can have a big enough game to do something here. And this is something new I'm going to add to each one of these videos now. It's called my fantasy focus player. I think if I'm going to focus on one player in this game, it would be Terrell Pryor. I think he's going to have a great game receiving this one. Could get a couple of handoffs as well to help this team out. But I'm going to give the Cleveland Browns picking up the win over the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday Night Football on a national stage. Cleveland winning it 17-13. Next, we head to our Sunday games, which start off at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Carolina Panthers. Kansas City comes in this game 6-2, right now on a 4-game winning streak, and last week picking up a win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Nick Foles, who filled in for Alex Smith last week, looked very, very good. But sadly, they didn't have no running game in that game, so it's all on Foles and that defense, and they did deliver for that one. Not 100% sure if Alex Smith will be back this week, but I don't know how serious his injury, a concussion is, but we will find out here as the week goes along. And for Carolina, they are going into this game 3-5 on the season, right now on a 2-game winning streak, after they just beat the Los Angeles Rams in a very close game near the end. As this team starting to look a little better, maybe not fully as good as they were last year still with some improvements they need, but the team is actually looking better. And that is why this one, I'm gonna call this another upset too, but I'm gonna pick the Carolina Panthers to win at home this one. I kind of feel like it's not too much of an upset, because Carolina Panthers are still a good team in my mind. I still feel like they have the same power and everything, just could not get things rolling at the beginning. The cornerbacks, I think, will start to settle down here a little more. Now, like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I think this team could go on a streak here sooner or later. I think this is where it's going to happen right here. And I believe the Carolina Panthers are going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in this one, 16-13. And my fantasy focus for this one would be Cam Newton. I think he's going to have another great game in this one, even though I try to stay away from big players when I do this. But Cam Newton, I just feel like he's going to have a breakout game. He's going to have a rushing touch on this one, maybe a couple passing touchdowns as well. And I think they're going to beat up this very strong Kansas City defense. And like I mentioned, Carolina Panthers, I have them winning this one against the Kansas City Chiefs, 16-13. Our next game, we have an AFC South battle as the Houston Texans take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. As Houston comes in this game 5-3 and the leaders of the AFC South. As last week they had a bye week, so a little bit of time for this team to rest and try to figure some things out. As Osweiler not having the greatest season that he could have, especially with the big contract he has, so some pressure on him right now. And speaking of pressure, Jacksonville has some pressure on them as now they have a 2-6 record coming in this game and have lost their last 3 games, especially a loss last week to the Kansas City Chiefs. So Jacksonville right now just getting a new offensive coordinator and everything else, trying to get that put together right now, and maybe this week, maybe the week they do it. Sadly, I don't think so, as I believe the Houston Texans are going to pick up the win in this one. I believe my fantasy-focused player Lamar Miller is going to have a great game on the ground, running all of this Jacksonville Jaguars defense. And I believe the Houston Texans, I can say that right name right. Houston Texans will pick up a win against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 20-10. Our next game, we have the Denver Broncos taking on the New Orleans Saints. Denver coming in this one game 6-3 and having a loss to the Oakland Raiders on Sunday night. As a defense, seems like injuries are starting to affect this defense. Very, very strong defense that they've had so far this year. As Brandon Marshall got hurt last week, I don't know what his status is right now. As Talib was also out last week, I believe he might be coming back this Sunday for this game. So we'll see how that defense is looking at going against a very strong New Orleans offense. So now New Orleans now 4-4 on the season after picking up a win against the San Francisco 49ers. And in this one, I believe I'm going to go with I guess we can call this another upset here, as I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints beating the Denver Broncos. I believe the Saints offense is going to be able to take advantage of this beat up Denver's defense. This Denver offense hasn't showed too much to me so far, as they just don't look like the same Denver team that was at the beginning of the season. And I expect the running game here to have another big factor, as we've seen Oakland on Sunday night run all over the Denver Broncos. I'm excited to see the Saints try to do the same thing here with Mark Ingram and Tim Hightower. I think Mark Ingram will get the more yards in this one like he did last week, even though he was in a backup role. But I think Ingram's going to have a good game in this one, so if you're a fantasy player owning a fantasy team, I'd go with Mike Ingram or Tim Hightower in this one. And I have the New Orleans Saints beating the Denver Broncos at home, 34-31. Our next game, we have the Los Angeles Rams taking on the New York Jets. Los Angeles now 3-5 on the season after starting 3-1, so losing 4 straight games in a row, and last week losing to the Carolina Panthers. And now we have the chance of we want Goff, Jared Goff, everybody, all the fans in LA want him in there. So we probably won't see that, because I don't think they want to ruin the season's already ruined. No point of putting Goff out there to get hurt. Let him learn a little bit longer, I think, because I think that even though people don't think the season could be over for the Rams, I honestly think it is. And then for the New York Jets, they are now 3-6 on the year, as last week they suffered a loss to the Miami Dolphins. And we might possibly have another quarterback change for the New York Jets, as Bryce Perry was out there to take a couple snaps for this team. So we'll see how, actually it is Petty, excuse me, how this team will go into next week, as I know he only threw 2 passes in that game, but are they possibly maybe thinking about putting Petty out there and giving him a chance to play quarterback, as I think he was drafted last year, if I'm correct. But we'll see if maybe the New York Jets try to make a change and see if it improves this team. But in this one, I am still going to stick with the New York Jets, even though they're having quarterback issues as well for their team. I think the Rams aren't the team that can do anything here. Their defense is very, very strong, but their offense, I believe, for the Rams just cannot do too much. That is why I'm going to go with the New York Jets, pick up the win at home in this one, and keep an eye on Brandon Marshall in this game. I think he'll have a good game receiving against this Rams secondary, who seems like they can struggle from time to time. And I have the Jets beating the Los Angeles Rams 24-10. Our next game, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Atlanta comes in this game 6-3 and picking up a big Thursday night win last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, revenging a loss they had week 1 against the Buccaneers. Then for the Eagles, they come in this game 4-4, coming off a very close game against the New York Giants that they ended up losing, as they had a chance to win the game, as Eli threw an interception near the end of the game in their own territory. Eagles could not get past that 10-yard line, though, and ended up losing the game on turnover on downs. On this one, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. I was kind of leaning towards the Eagles at first. I mean, I think about that defense and how they maybe could stop Julio Jones in this offense, but I believe Sanu will have a good game in this one. Again, that was maybe my fantasy focus player. as he's been having a great game. If Julio's getting covered, Sanu will be open and he'll make a good amount of the catches. I believe that's going to happen here in this one, as Sanu will be a big factor. And I have the Atlanta Falcons beating the Philadelphia Eagles 28-17. And for the final game here on part 1 of Week 10 in the NFL, we have the Chicago Bears taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chicago comes into this game 2-6. Last week on a bye week, so a little bit of time for this team to rest. And we've seen a couple of weeks ago in Monday Night Football that we could see Jay Cutler play very, very good. And it's been rare that we can see Jay Cutler good for most of the time, not throwing an interception, especially, or turn the ball over. We'll see if he can do it again this week. As for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they come into this game 3-5 with a loss to the Atlanta Falcons. So we'll see if this Tampa Bay team can try to step against the Chicago team. I believe the Bears are a better team this one. I'm going to take the Bears to win this game. These two teams are pretty close to each other, I believe, but I think if Jay Cutler could play a good game like he did last week, I'm not saying he's going to play a good game like that, but if he does, I think it's an automatic win for the Chicago Bears team. But in this game, I'm going to have my fantasy focus on Jordan Howard. I think he'll have a good running game against this Tampa Bay defense, and I think he'll at least hit 100 yards in this game. And I have the Chicago Bears beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road 17-14. And that is it for part 1 of Week 10 in the NFL. If you want to watch part 2, you can go down to the descriptions below and click on the link down there. If you guys want to leave some comments below of if you agree with the games I pick, which one do you agree with, which ones don't you agree with? Do you agree with the players I think could have a breakout game this week? Love to hear what you guys got to say. If you guys also want to follow me on Twitter, you can do that at ColeMartins57. I'd love to talk about the NFL and every other sport, so if you guys want to talk to me about anything sports-wise, go ahead and tag me in a tweet, and I'd love to talk to you guys about that stuff. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and if you want to see some more of my NFL videos or other videos that I post, please subscribe to my channel. And that is it for this video, so thank you guys for tuning in and watching, and you guys all have a great day.